let you know when it's live. Okay, so it's telling me that it's not able to connect to Instagram right now, so that might be a bust. But we are streaming on KKP, streaming on
And
Deeproot, and streaming
I
on
just
Shallow
got a I
Knife.
just got an alert
Nice.
from YouTube. Yeah.
All right, so we're official. We are in the building. We are doing our first ever live stream with the King Kong Palm crew. I'm excited. I'm Sheldon Callahan. I'm one of the crew and actually the one of the first people to start to implement the KKP process and method on my practice. So I'm excited as a practitioner and as a fan of Sifu Ron and Sifu Gus and their skills. So I'm really excited to be able to share this. And we have a huge event coming up. We have the Silk and Steel Conference
Silk and
coming up.
Steel.
Silk and
Silk and
Steel,
Steel.
yeah. Coming up on May 25th, 26th at the Oakland Asian Cultural Center in Oakland, Chinatown. So it is an unprecedented event that we're doing. There's nothing like this. We brought together 7 masters from different backgrounds, everything from the healing aspect all the way to the martial aspect. Sifu Ron, Sifu Gus. Oh, we got the SO Vizzle who's coming on here, the SOV. Let's get into the event. So tell me, what is Silk and Steel? What are you guys doing?
Brother Ron, you want to take this?
No, you
You,
could, because I
you
would
can
say
start.
something off the
You
cuff
are Silk and Steel, my brother.
in my underwear. Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and start it off?
All right. So Silk and Steel. So the KKP crew has always had this mission to basically validate Kung Fu as a martial art. And it's one of the most complete martial arts. And one of the things that we wanted to do is go around and and give a conduit for local masters to show off their internal and external chops. So, and that Kung Fu is it's the father of all martial systems. And many of the things that are internal as well as external practices are kind of going away, because not because of anything of ignorance or fault like this, because it's just the modern times. So we're trying to bring that in, trying to bring these minds in, trying to show the internal power as well as the external power, and the bigger understanding of it is what Silk and Steel is trying to bring into your part of the world. Um, and me and my brothers here um, are heading it up and bringing in other masters to bring it in, right? Yeah, that sounds
Yeah,
good.
the idea is at this point is, I mean, there's a lot of things that people don't know that comes from Kung Fu and that's in Kung Fu, and these masters are the ones who can really um, shed some light on those things. Because I've had Kung Fu people come up to me when they see what you and I do, Ron. They're like, they start naming other arts. I go, sorry, it's Kung Fu. So Silk and Steel is a great event to interact with those things.
Right, right. It's a good, safe, controlled area where we show. I mean, I want to go see, and learn from some of these our representatives here, they're the presenters, and basically just trying to um, convey to everyone who does martial arts that, to fully understand internal, you have to understand external. To fully understand external, you have to understand somewhat the internal. I don't subscribe to being a symmetrical balance of a person, of a martial artist. I am asymmetrical. I'm more external rather than internal, but I didn't understand my external as much as when I started delving into the internal. Amazing. And
Yeah.
so,
I know that you guys got this array of masters together, and you guys are going to be sharing some really kind of specific things that I find are probably some of the biggest questions that I get from other martial artists, and including myself, is how do I actually do China effectively? Because yeah, I might know a China technique, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I can do it effectively. And most people also don't know that Tai Chi is a fighting art. Surprisingly, a majority of people that come to my center, they're surprised when I actually tell them it's a martial art. So, tell us a little bit about China and Tai Chi in the realms of martial arts and how it is used, and kind of what's different about your approach.
But one of the things that they're going to get is what's the difference between application and combat. That's the biggest thing that we come to interact with. Most people, they know how to do a move, but then it's harder to get to the move when it's randomized. Fighting is randomized. So one of the big things we're going to be talking about and going over is how to use China in a randomized fashion when you really don't know what's coming, and how to get to it and different things like that. So that's kind of what my brother and I, we're really good at. That's what we practice all the time. That's what we've practiced all the time. So it's different because some people come into the village and they go, well, I know how to do a move, and I'm like, okay, that's great. And I've had it from karate type people, from to kung fu people, and then we're like, okay, cool. Then we randomize and they can't get to it,
Mm,
you know, because
yeah.
it has to be set up. And so then I ask the question, then what are you learning it for?
Right.
Right? Are you
Right.
learning it to use it, right, in a realistic situation, or you learning to use it just to, you know, have fun and show off with your friends? And you got to know which one you want.
Yeah. I'm going to be playing a clip just without sound in the background as we talk. I pulled up the video of the Kung Fu China, so you can see Luis getting thrown around and having it applied to him. So just, there's a little bit of context for people as we're talking. You guys won't be able to see it, but the audience will be able to see it. It's great. I can see it. So Sifu Ron, do you have anything to add to that as well?
You know, it's China okay. Since my brother took China, I'll take Tai Chi. Many people are taken aback when I tell them Tai Chi is one of the most advanced Kung Fu styles out there. It is one of the hardest Kung Fu styles out there. When I tell people that the Tai Chi is more of a blender rather than a punch hit system, they go, "Oh, really?" And of course, what you said, Tai Chi is a martial arts. Wow, it is. That's why a lot of people have a hard time learning Tai Chi because it is basically learning trigonometry before you learn math. My brother and I, we learned math. Basically, 1 plus 1 is a black eye. 2 plus 2 is that was it. But you also learned how to what we the journey that my brother Gus and I went through is basically we learned balance, power, distribution of and then as we got older, we learned that it is indicative of your balance has a lot to do with your breathing and da, 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 da. So it's all the internal thing that goes like along with it. And then Tai Chi came along, and that Tai Chi just started it started tearing up every motion you did. Oh, this is what I do in slow motion. This is what I did. Da, 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 da. That's why I always tell people who, no matter what martial art you've done, especially if you're one of the old warriors, you need to do Tai Chi because, yeah, you could do all this and think about it as like a poofy thing, but it really is a great study of movement.
Mm,
And when you do know combat, you start going, oh, that's what I did. Oh, and you start becoming even more efficient.
mm,
So in Silk and Steel, we're trying to bring out from showing China and Tai Chi and the application of it and what not just the application, but the the power of it, the
Mm.
stopping power of it. And it's lost. It's becoming lost nowadays. I'm not saying we're the only ones who know how to do it. It's just the practice of the how to learn it and actually use it.
Mm.
You know, because my usual thing is if your kung fu, if your school is like this, if you're training like this, your fighting should look like the same way.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
that's
that's great. And so one of the missions of Deep Root, which is our 501c3 that houses programs like King Kong Palm, is that we're not only preserving these traditions that are being lost, we're also helping to maintain and develop them further. So I think what a lot of people don't know is that this event is not just about us bringing a bunch of people together, but the fact that we want to keep a healthy transmission of these arts alive, and that's really one of our goals. And that
right.
people can join us in this effort. They can donate to the cause. They can come to the event. They can also sponsor the event. So there's a lot of different ways that people in the community can support the arts and keep the arts alive through this work. So I just want to let everybody know that this is a bigger effort than just Silk and Steel and just KKP. This is really about getting the martial arts community to continue to preserve and develop our arts.
Right.
So let me ask you all this. What is probably one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about kung fu and these arts, kind of that you've seen over time?
I relegate to my brother Gus.
Well, uh, my take is I think that it's kung fu has become more, I don't know if you can say it this way, wushified.
Mm.
It's become more wushu, and people don't understand the essence. I often have to tell people, say, look at Chinese history. I mean, they were in war for centuries, and and you had to know how to survive, and that's where all this stuff was born. And what happened is, somebody who knows when it happened or why it happened, they've made it easier. And when you learn something like a randomized style, because one of the things that we're always clear on our show about this, and we're clear on what our approach is this is not about you switching styles. We're not
No.
asking you to switch styles. Everything we're teaching is in the essence of every style, is in the
Right.
essence of every style. So what we do is, people say, well, we break down the science. Well, Ron and I actually break down the science. We talk about, the triangle. We talk about understanding how to drop weight. We talk about the anatomy of the body, what parts of the joints and ligaments. These things are all important because you have to know how to manipulate the body to be able to do good chin na. What most people think, well, you just do a move. I'm like, yeah, well, this is the reason why the MMA and the jiu-jitsu community says small circle leverages don't work, because a lot of practitioners just don't have the education in the science and then apply it under pressure.
Right.
And this is the goal of KKP, because I see some really good chinas, but then I ask the question is what happens? Can you do that randomized? Like, can you do that off the cuff? I'm not
Mm.
saying harder or softer, but can you do that off the cuff? And this is the mission of KKP, is to spread that experience. So you go back to whatever your style is and you have this understanding. I even had people who were former karate students go back to arts like Hapkido, which has a lot of leverages in them, and say, wow, this is what the art was missing that they shared with me. So that's the idea of what we're doing.
Right.
Awesome.
And yeah, and the big and also the thing that to add on to Gus's thing is what we do also once you get once you see the process of how we train, which is a training that's almost extinct, by the way, that you also figure out, okay, the individualist, you have every single person has an individual limit and comfort. and doing these motions. Oh, maybe I can't do that because I'm too big. Maybe you're gonna. It's that it's taking what Gus said and then even bringing it further into your training, learning what you can and cannot do, learning what is just bluster and or what is, oh, okay, I didn't need to all to do all that. It's actually easier than I thought. And then from there go beyond. And most people already have that in their repertoire. It's just they're getting inundated with all this stuff from the modern world.
That makes sense. I'm going to share a clip from Silk and Steel as we're talking. So the little commercial that we have is going to be playing. This is awesome. To be honest with you, I've gone around the world. I've trained in different places, trained with different teachers, and it's actually really rare to find people that kind of can take even a further step back from their style, from their lineage, and actually see the methods and techniques and concepts that really unite them all together. So that's something that I haven't seen that often. You two were some of the rare people that I've met that had that ability. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about your backgrounds and how did you develop those skills? Because I don't think that that's I don't think that that's normal. I don't think that's regular because I've worked with a lot of different masters and just haven't seen that a lot. So how did this come to be? Tell us a little bit about your backgrounds.
Brother.
All right. Uh, well, I was going to college and this spider fell on me and it bit me and I became radioactive.
Oh wow.
Well, no, aside from that, no, well, with me it's relatively simple. I was I had too much energy as a kid, and my parents always wanted to try to figure out what to do for me. And then from there, I found several people in my little community in Asia that actually taught kung fu, martial arts. I didn't know what it was, so I just started on it, and then from then on, I just kept going and going. And they were doing more so it's an Iron Waterfall style,
Mm.
and it's Southern Shaolin style, very clean, similar to Choy Foot. Not that much people left, I think. I never really researched on it. And then I moved over, and then I learned that for a while. Then I went to several different, I had three masters then, and then I went over and over and to America, and then just kind of meandered, didn't know. And then I found this another place called Kung Fu Sansu.
Mm.
And so I had all this training for forms, weapons, and stuff like that. And then Sansu gave me the conduit to go, let's see if this shit works.
Mm.
Right? So we kept on, and I kept on going this, and then I kept on trying this. And so why isn't this working? Oh, this is what. So and Sansu gave me the conduit because there it was just no holds barred.
Mm.
People threw at you, people did this, da, 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 da. The way me and Gus do it now is sweet and loving and kind. The way we grew up, it was under the belt. I was like, oh, okay, you can't try that on me. That was our usual thing. Try that on me,
Mm.
right? Let's do it. It was very competitive. It was very chips on your shoulder. And I didn't care. I was, let's do it. Let's do it because I want to see if I can do it. After a while, people kind of went, okay, that's because it's Ron. He can do that because it's Ron. Only because I was implementing all the Chinese forms and stuff like that, and I was doing it in full speed, effectively and such. But then they started saying, a lot of people say, oh, just because it's Ron.
Mm.
He learned other things. And I couldn't, no matter what I said, nobody listened to me. So I said, okay, let's start schools. Because I wanted to prove that it's not just me. And I did. I had several amazing students that grew up doing the same thing I did with the forums and stuff like that. And then, in the midst of that, I met this guy. He had this awesome hair, right? Lots of energy. His name is Gus. Like I used to call him Gus Gus. and then, he was one of those weird guys that went to the day classes. But, he was as tough as hell. So I had these schools, and then after a while, um, I thought to myself, this is not really for me. I did not want to do a school because, yes, it's selfish, but I wanted to learn more. I just didn't want to continue teaching the fundamentals. So I traveled the world and came back, and and from then on, I'm happy, doing this. But then I got back together with my brother and decided, you know what, I'm seeing the state of Kung Fu nowadays, and a lot of martial arts, not just Kung Fu. It's a lot of martial arts just losing a lot of that oomph, lose and people going to the trends of it. I'm not saying these is better than that one's better. I'm just saying that so many people are just being herded.
Mm.
It's like, be happy on your individualism, and be happy on your choice of martial arts. Because if you did, unless it's no touch BS, you know,
What?
be happy because it has, you just have to find someone who could guide you. And then from then on, I met Sheldon, and and then SOV, and then this is where we are, and I'm hoping for, to go even farther than this.
Awesome. And how about you?
Aren't you looking to find some workout partners in Vegas?
Yeah, because I have my strip show and stuff like that
Yeah,
with my
we
steel
strip on the block.
fans.
By the way, Sifu Ron goes by Bad Monk. We just gonna put that out there.
I never got bad monk.
Every
People coined me bad monk.
every Shaolin temple has one.
I'm not evil,
Not evil, bad.
Evil is
just
different.
bad.
Bad meaning good.
Yeah.
So
Let's go
yeah.
with that one.
So Sifu Gus, tell us a little bit about your history.
So I am originally from Northern California. I am from the Bay. I'm from this East Palo Alto, and I actually that's where my martial experience started. I started in Taekwondo with some tough Vietnam vets, and they were just really cool. And I was watching them train, and they were showing me stuff, and it just wasn't a fit. It wasn't a fit for me. And then I met an instructor in Kung Fu, Min Jan Tzu. It's a five animal style. Some people also called folk fighting at the same time. So anyway, I loved it. It was very practical for me being young and thin and easily bullied. So I got that experience, and I was just one of those people who really, okay, now what does this do? Okay, now show me that. I was always hungry. I always wanted to know because I started seeing like results right away. So the one thing that when people come train with me now, they always say, gosh, what you do is very practical. And I know it sounds crazy when you hear that because everyone says the same thing, but these are martial artists saying it. So I got that training at a very early age. And then when I moved to Southern California, I could not find something that resonated with me. And I trained in a lot of different styles. I trained with some Ceylon people. I trained Wing Chun. And it just wasn't my fit. Actually, the only style I was actually thinking about transitioning to was Nimpo Ninjutsu, and not Taijutsu, but Ninjutsu. And these guys they were tough, right? But then someone introduced me to this really odd gentleman named Paul Borisov in Kung Fu Sansu. And the first day that I trained at Paul's, he almost broke my arm. And my whole thing as I bounced up, I go, "You're going to teach me that?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm going to teach you that today." And I'm like, what do I sign up? And then just so happens I tell people I come from really good brothers, Ron being one of them. But these aren't people who anybody would know. They've never won a tournament. And I would watch people come in from different styles, and these guys would just wipe the floor with them one after another. And then when you watch them, when you look at them, rather, these guys, none of them look like they were super athlete. Like you would see the big athletes with big muscles. But what I learned was these guys under this was a fighting art. Like this is skills based. One of the things I tell my students, I said, "You are not a machine gun. You are a sniper." And these guys were really, really good. And Ron and I see when they wanted to dazzle the crowd, they put Ron and Ron would run up the leg, kick them, and then look real good doing it. And then one of my other brothers would just slam someone. The other one would just, and so I'm sitting there getting a chance to get all this experience, and I'm like, wow, this. And as I always mention in many videos of mine, I was also not doing a lot of smart things in the '90s, so it was really perfect for what I was.
Adventurous things.
I was adventurous, let's say that. So I had to have something practical. I couldn't go down the route of just doing a bunch of forms and stuff like that because I was in too many dangerous situations, So I had to put myself in a place where these guys were practical, and it was really practical. Like, these guys would come at you, and you had to know. Ron always tell my students this when he comes in town, because we would train and we'd look at each other and goes, "Whose blood is this? We're not sure whose blood this is." There's always, I mean, pain was just associated to the training, right? And it's the weird thing, it was just the different types of pain. But one of the things I've learned was how the body works mechanically and energetically. And these things are really important. So when I opened my school years later, different martial arts, both karate, kung fu, and all different kinds would come in, and they would be a little shocked that we understood this on such a level, and then produced other students who can do the same thing.
Right.
So my mission, what I love to do is share. My brother Ron, even though he's bad monk, not evil monk, bad monk, he loves to share the same. He shares much with me. He encouraged me back when I first opened my school 25 years ago to keep going. So it really is good. And anybody who gets the chance to experience Ron, he's going to give you a hard time, but
I don't teach.
You will learn something that you will not learn from most people. And I've trained at the Shaolin Temple, the Wudang Monastery, and I have yet to meet a person like Ron.
And I just want to jump in on that, love. This has actually been something that was true for me, as I've been to the Shaolin Temple. I've trained with the Shaolin monks here, had a great time, had some awesome teachers, but I have not had a chance to really learn the kind of stuff that I'm learning from the KKP crew pretty much my whole time. Now, I learned application, I could fight, all these different things like that, but it's another level of continued education for me. The other thing that I'm really excited about the Silk and Steel conference is the fact that these are all of my favorite martial artists here that are coming.
There's some good ones.
And so I'm really excited about this. These are all people that I've worked with personally. I've gotten to experience their skills firsthand. I vouch for every single person who's on the panel, so I'm really excited about that, and just the fact of the collaboration in the Kung Fu community is something that, again, is another kind of unprecedented thing. A lot of times we don't see that kind of that unity. So there's a lot of folks that are doing things, that are putting things together, that the community comes together, and I'm excited about that, like Gathering of the Masters with Sifu Don Hamby. So we want to keep that stuff going, and keep everything moving forward in Kung Fu and martial arts in general. So this isn't just for people who practice Kung Fu. Obviously, you'll benefit from this because it will enhance whatever it is that you're doing. But for Kung Fu people, this will also be an additional bonus, because you'll be able to see how this relates to the skills that you're learning.
Right.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, there's this fracture between, it doesn't matter what martial art you are. There's this fracture between the yin and the yang, which is the internal and the external. And a lot of them, they just, it's like they look like divorced a couple. It's a divorced couple, and sometimes even though you're divorced, it's fine to be friends, and guess what? Your students are the kids. And if you're always fighting with each other, you're going to have, messed up, unhappy kids. Well, maybe. So, but aside from that, that's what we're trying to bring in. That's that, that it's required to have the knowledge of internal and external, not the full understanding of it. It's just partial understanding of it. You'll figure out that, you like one or better than the other. That's fine. But don't tell me that you could master one thing without understanding the other.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're not doing a hard push on that. Gus and I have never been a hard pushers of drugs like that, stuff like that. We're not. We just kind of like, this is what it is. We've always been very welcoming and we'd love to share. I still learn from everybody that I meet.
Mhm.
So,
This reminds me of like high school. You don't just go to high school and learn math only, and you don't learn English, and you don't learn physical education. Like, there's a need for all of those components, and like you said, there has been a fracture where people have just kind of gone off and specialized, and that's cool. That's cool, but in a way, we've definitely seen how that is not creating necessarily complete martial artists. And so, bringing all these people together, people will get a chance to experience all of the different avenues of the arts, the healing, and the martial arts, and then of course they can choose for themselves what they have an affinity or what resonates with them the most. But they'll have a deeper understanding of the opposites that are exist in the martial arts. So we're running at time. Is there anything else that you want to say to the people before we finish our live stream?
I just
see you at
think
Silk
that's
and Steel.
yeah, I just think Silk and Steel is really a good balance for people who and if you come from a good art, kudos to you. You can still benefit from Silk and Steel. There's just so much that will be given to the practitioners that you can walk away with from the external to the internal.
Mhm.
And it's all about building the community at kingkongpalm.com because we want this to be an annual event. That's what we want it to be, but we can't do this without the practitioners coming.
Awesome.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
you,
because it's it's not a competition thing, not even close. It's not going there to watch other schools perform, which we will have in the lunchtime, but it's not that. It is sharing knowledge throughout, just showing you what your legacy is, right? By these local masters, as well as us. So showing the internal, external. It's all it could do is give you a plus in your life.
Yeah.
so
And also to get me and Ron to leave our comfortable places to go somewhere else is always not the easiest thing to do.
I want the crab at the wharf.
You get one of us, maybe you rarely get both of us. So this is the
That's
opportunity
true.
where you'll
That's
get
true.
both of us.
and I am super excited for that. Everyone, you heard it there. Go to kingkongpalm.com to register for the Silk and Steel event. If you have any questions, you can go to the website and ask for more information. We're happy to give you more information about the event, and of course, we want you to sign up and come. And we'll see you there on May 25th and 26th at the Oakland Asian Cultural Center in the Oakland Chinatown at Silk and Steel event.